The Galactic Council had ruled the stars for 12,000 years. 43 different alien species lived together in peace across 200 worlds. They had laws, they had order, and they had prosperity. Wars were rare. Hunger was almost forgotten. Disease had been conquered on most worlds. It was a golden age that seemed like it would last forever. Then the Zathik came. Nobody saw them coming. There was no warning, no declaration of war, no chance to prepare. One day, the sensors near the Andari cluster detected something strange. A rip in space itself, like someone had torn a hole in reality. Through that hole came the Zathik swarm. They looked like insects, but insects the size of buildings. Their ships were not metal and circuits like normal spacecraft. The ships were alive, grown from organic matter, pulsing with unnatural life. Each vessel was a weapon, a transport, and a factory all at once. They could heal themselves faster than anyone could damage them. They could produce more ships from the bodies of their dead. And they had only one purpose: to consume everything living and spread across the galaxy. The first world to fall was Andari 7. 4 billion people lived there. The Zathik stripped the planet bare in 2 weeks. Every person, every animal, every plant was consumed. What remained was a dead rock floating in space, gray and lifeless. The Council sent their fleets. The proud Telkari warriors, who had never lost a battle, threw everything they had at the invaders. They died by the thousands. The wise Luminari, whose energy shields had protected their worlds for centuries, watched helplessly as the Zathik weapons burned through their defenses like paper. The industrious Paxson, who built the finest warships in the galaxy, saw their creations torn apart by living vessels that refused to die. World after world went silent. The Zathik were endless. For every ship destroyed, 3 more appeared. For every battle won, 2 more battles were lost. The Council retreated again and again, abandoning systems, abandoning planets, abandoning billions of people to their fate. Commander Lisa Hayes stood on the bridge of the Valiant Hope and watched her world die. The ship was a Council dreadnought, one of the largest warships ever built. Its weapons could level a city from orbit. Its shields could withstand a direct hit from a nuclear weapon. None of that mattered now. "Commander, we are losing the orbital defense grid," said Lieutenant Greg Martin from his station. His voice was steady, but Lisa could hear the fear underneath. "Sectors 4 through 9 have gone dark. The Zathik are landing on the surface." Lisa looked at the main screen. Viridian Prime filled the view. A beautiful blue and green world that reminded her of Earth, the human homeworld she had only seen in pictures. 4 billion people lived on Viridian Prime. In a few hours, there would be nobody left alive. "How many ships do we have left?" Lisa asked. 42, Greg replied. "We started with 300. Lisa closed her eyes. They had fought for 6 hours. They had given everything they had. It was not enough. It would never be enough. "Send the evacuation order to all remaining colonies," she said. "Full retreat to the core worlds." Nobody spoke. Everyone on the bridge knew the truth. The core worlds were already gone. The Telkari homeworld, where warriors had trained for 10,000 years, was a wasteland. The Luminari sanctuary, where the oldest and wisest beings in the galaxy had lived, was silent. The Paxson factory worlds, which had produced everything from medicine to starships, were consumed. There was nowhere left to run. "Commander," Greg said quietly, "we are receiving a transmission from the surface. It's from the capital city." Lisa nodded. She had been expecting this. "Put it through." A woman's face appeared on the screen. She was young, maybe 30, with dirt on her face and blood on her clothes. Behind her, Lisa could see fires burning and people running in panic. "This is Mayor Susan Blake of New Boston," the woman said. "The Zathik are in the streets. We have maybe an hour before they reach the shelters. Please tell me the fleet is coming back." Lisa felt something break inside her chest. She had served in the Council fleet for 20 years. She had protected worlds, saved lives, kept the peace. Now she had to tell this woman that there was no hope. "I'm sorry," Lisa said. "We cannot hold them. You need to evacuate everyone you can and get them off-world." Susan's face went pale. "There are 2 million people in this city alone. We do not have enough ships. We do not have enough time." "I know," Lisa said. "I'm sorry, the transmission cut off." Lisa stood there staring at the empty screen. Around her, the bridge crew worked in silence. There was nothing left to say. "Commander," Greg said suddenly, "I'm detecting multiple Zathik ships approaching our position. They are targeting us specifically." Lisa looked at the tactical display. 50 Zothic vessels were breaking away from the main swarm, heading directly for the Valiant Hope. They wanted to finish off the survivors. All hands, battle stations, Lisa ordered. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. We are getting out of here. The Valiant Hope turned away from Viridian Prime and accelerated. Behind it, the planet grew darker as millions of Zothic bioships descended like a plague. Lisa forced herself to look away. There was nothing she could do for those people now. Commander, where are we going? Greg asked. Lisa pulled up a star chart on her command console. She scrolled through the map, past dead worlds and empty systems, past the ruins of civilizations that had stood for thousands of years. Finally, she found what she was looking for. A region of space at the edge of the galaxy marked with a red border and a single word: quarantine. There, she said, pointing at the screen. Greg looked at the map and then at her. Commander, that is the human quarantine zone. The Council forbids all contact with that region. We do not even know if there is anyone alive in there. I know, Lisa said, but it is our only chance. 200 years ago, humanity had been part of the Galactic Council. They had been one of the younger species newly arrived to the stars. But they had proven themselves quickly. Human engineers had built wonders. Human scientists had made discoveries that changed entire fields of study. Human diplomats had helped negotiate peace between warring species. But humanity had also scared the Council. Humans were too aggressive, too quick to fight, too willing to develop weapons. When a civil war broke out on Earth, the Unification Wars, the Council had watched in horror as humans slaughtered each other by the millions. When the war ended and Earth was united under one government, the Council made a decision. Humanity was too dangerous to be allowed to expand freely. They were exiled to a small region of space beyond the galactic rim, cut off from all trade, all communication, all contact. The Council told themselves it was for the good of everyone. They told themselves that humanity would either destroy itself or learn to be peaceful. Either way, the problem was solved. Lisa had been 10 years old when the exile happened. She had been born on a Council world, raised by human parents who had chosen to stay with the Council rather than return to the quarantine zone. She had grown up hating the decision, hating the aliens who had cast out her people. But she had served anyway, hoping to prove that humans deserved a second chance. Now she was about to break the most sacred law of the Council. She was about to contact the exiled humans and ask for their help. Prepare a transmission, Lisa ordered. Send it on all frequencies into the quarantine zone. What should I say? Greg asked. Lisa thought for a moment. What could she say? How could she ask for help from people who had been abandoned by the very government she served? Keep it simple, she said. Tell them the galaxy is dying. Tell them the Council that exiled them is gone. Tell them we need help. Include our coordinates and a summary of the Zothic threat. Greg worked on his console for a few minutes, then looked up. Message ready, Commander. Send it, Lisa said. The transmission went out, racing through space at faster than light speed, penetrating deep into the quarantine zone. Lisa watched the confirmation appear on her screen. The message was sent. Now all they could do was wait. Do you think they will answer? Greg asked. Lisa looked at the empty space on the view screen where Viridian Prime had been. She thought about the billions of people who had died, the civilizations that had been erased, the hope that had been lost. I do not know, she said honestly, but if they are still alive, if they remember what it means to be part of something larger than themselves, then maybe they will come. The Valiant Hope set course for Sanctuary Station, the last gathering point for Council survivors. It would take 3 days to reach it. Behind them, the Zothic continued their feast. Ahead of them, only darkness and uncertainty waited. Lisa sat in her command chair and stared at the stars. Somewhere out there, beyond the edge of known space, humanity had spent 2 centuries in isolation. They had been cast out, abandoned, left to survive or die on their own. If they had survived, if they had built something in that darkness, then maybe there was still hope. If they had not, then the galaxy was already dead. It just did not know it yet. Sanctuary Station had never been meant to hold this many people. It was built as a waypoint for explorers, a place to refuel and resupply before heading into unmapped regions of space. The station could support maybe 5,000 residents comfortably. Now it held over 200,000 refugees from 43 different species, and more arrived every day. Every corridor was packed with people, Every cargo bay had been converted into living quarters. Every available space held someone who had lost their home, their family, their entire world. The air recycling systems were running at maximum capacity. Food was being rationed. Water was carefully measured. Medical supplies were running dangerously low, and everyone knew it was only temporary. The Zathik were coming. Ambassador Kyle Rogers walked through what had once been the station's central garden. The plants had been removed to make room for emergency equipment and command stations. Now the space was filled with holographic displays showing star maps, fleet positions, and casualty reports. Around him, the last representatives of the Galactic Council argued in a dozen different languages. Kyle was one of the few humans who had stayed with the Council after the exile. He had been a diplomat, working to build bridges between humanity and the other species. For 30 years he had tried to prove that humans could be trusted, that the exile had been a mistake. Now watching the Council collapse around him, he wondered if any of it had mattered. "We should split up," said High Chieftain Vorn, a Telkari warrior who stood nearly 8 feet tall. He had 4 arms, each one strong enough to bend steel, and his species had been famous throughout the galaxy as unbeatable fighters. But even the Telkari had been beaten by the Zathik. "Small groups can hide in the outer systems. We can survive if we scatter. And then what?" asked Elder Sayana, a luminari whose skin glowed with soft blue light. Her species were scholars and philosophers, beings who had spent millennia studying the nature of the universe. "We hide while the Zathik hunt us down one by one? They do not stop. They do not rest. They will find us eventually. Then we fight," Vorn said, slamming one of his fists on the table. "We gather every ship, every weapon, every soldier. We make a stand." "We have 40 ships left," said a Paxan engineer named Krell. His species had built most of the stations and ships in Council space. "The Zathik have thousands. We lost. Accept it." The argument continued, the same one Kyle had heard for 3 days straight. Nobody wanted to admit the simple truth. They were finished. The Zathik were 12 systems away and closing fast. Even if every species contributed their last warship, they might buy a week at most. Maybe less. Kyle's datapad vibrated. He pulled it out and saw a priority message from Commander Hayes on the Valiant Hope. He opened it, expecting another report about Zathik movements or refugee arrivals. Instead, he found himself reading the message 3 times, certain he had misunderstood. "Everyone, please listen," Kyle said, his voice cutting through the argument. "We just received a response. From the quarantine zone." The room went silent. Every alien turned to look at him. "That is impossible," Sayana said slowly. "We have had no contact with humanity for 200 years. They are either extinct or they have chosen to remain silent. Or they have been waiting," Kyle said, forwarding the message to the central display. The text appeared for everyone to see. It was brief, almost cold in its efficiency. Message received. Assessment of threat level in progress. Stand by, do not engage Zathik forces. Humanity is coming. Estimated arrival 72 hours. Signed Admiral Jake Morrison, United Earth Defense Fleet. Vorn's laugh was bitter and harsh. United Earth Defense Fleet? When we exiled the humans, they barely had fusion drives. Their largest ships could hold maybe 1,000 people. What fleet could they possibly have? Kyle stared at the message. He had lived among humans before the exile. He had seen their creativity, their refusal to give up, their ability to solve impossible problems, but he had also seen their violence, their capacity for destruction, the very things that had made the Council fear them. "I do not know," Kyle admitted. "But in 72 hours we will find out." The room erupted in debate. Some thought the humans were lying or delusional. Others thought it was a trap, that the humans would come seeking revenge for their exile. A few dared to hope that maybe, just maybe, humanity had built something powerful enough to help. Kyle left the command center and made his way to the observation deck. It was crowded with refugees, people staring out at the stars wondering if they would ever see their homes again. Kyle found a spot near the reinforced windows and looked out into space. Somewhere out there, beyond the edge of the galaxy, humanity had spent 200 years alone. The Council had cut them off from all trade, all technology sharing, all contact with other species. They had been left to survive on their own, with only their own worlds and their own resources. Kyle had voted against the exile. He had argued that humanity deserved a chance to prove themselves, that their violence was a product of their youth as a species, that they could learn and grow. He had lost that vote, The Council had been too afraid. Now Kyle wondered what 2 centuries of isolation had done to humanity. Had they destroyed themselves in more wars? Had they regressed back to primitive barbarism? Or had they grown into something the galaxy had never seen before? A young luminary child approached Kyle. She could not have been more than 10 years old, her skin still glowing with the bright colors of youth. "Ambassador Rogers," she said in careful English, "is it true that the humans are coming to help us?" Kyle looked down at the child. She had probably lost her parents, her home, everything she had ever known. Like everyone on this station, she was running out of time. "Yes," Kyle said, making himself smile. "They are coming. Are they scary?" The child asked. "My teacher used to say that humans were dangerous, that they liked to fight and hurt others." Kyle thought about how to answer. The truth was complicated. Humans could be dangerous. They could be violent, but they could also be kind, generous, and brave. They were contradictions, a species that could create beautiful art one moment and terrible weapons the next. Humans are different, Kyle said finally. They can be scary to those who threaten them. But they can also be the best friends you could ever have. They do not abandon people who need help, even when it would be easier to walk away. The child seemed to think about this. "I hope they come soon," she said quietly, then walked away. Kyle turned back to the window. He hoped so too. Over the next 3 days, Sanctuary Station prepared for the worst. The 40 remaining Council ships formed a defensive perimeter around the station. It was a pitiful force, barely enough to slow down the Zathik advance, but it was all they had. Medical teams prepared for casualties. Engineers reinforced the station's shields. Evacuation shuttles were fueled and ready to launch at a moment's notice. And everyone waited. Commander Lisa Hayes arrived on the 2nd day, bringing the Valiant Hope and 6 other surviving ships from the Viridian Prime disaster. Kyle met her in the docking bay. "Any response from the humans?" Lisa asked immediately. "Nothing since the first message," Kyle said. "But they said 72 hours. If they are coming, it will be soon." Lisa looked exhausted. She had not slept in days, Kyle could tell. She had watched Viridian Prime die, had abandoned billions of people to the Zathik. That kind of guilt did not fade quickly. "I keep wondering if I did the right thing," Lisa said quietly. "Sending that message. Asking them for help after what we did to them." "You did what you had to do," Kyle said. "If the humans choose not to help, that is their decision. But at least you tried." "What if they are not coming to help?" Lisa asked. "What if they are coming for revenge?" "We exiled them, Kyle. We cut them off and left them to die. Why would they help us now?" Kyle had been asking himself the same question. He had no good answer. "Because they are human," he said finally. "And humans do not think like the rest of us. They have this idea that you should help people even when those people have wronged you. They call it mercy or forgiveness or sometimes just being decent. It makes no logical sense, but it is who they are." Lisa looked at him. "You really believe that?" "I have to," Kyle said. "Because if I am wrong, then we are all dead anyway." On the 3rd day, the Zathik arrived. Their fleet entered the system like a plague. 3,000 bioships spreading across space in a formation that had destroyed 100 worlds. They moved with terrible purpose, heading straight for Sanctuary Station. Kyle was in the command center when the sensors detected them. Around him, the last Council representative stared at the tactical displays in silence. There was nothing left to say. No more arguments to make, no more plans to devise. "All ships take defensive positions," Commander Hayes ordered over the comm. Her voice was steady, professional, accepting of what was about to happen. "We buy as much time as we can for the evacuation shuttles." The 40 Council ships formed a line between the station and the Zathik fleet. They powered up their weapons and shields. Every person on every ship knew they were about to die. But they would die fighting, buying time for the civilians to escape. The Zathik fleet closed to weapons range. Their biocannons began charging, organic weapons that could melt through shields and hull in seconds. The Council ships prepared to fire, then every sensor. The Zathik made the first move. Their biocannons opened fire, sending waves of organic matter and concentrated energy toward the human fleet. These weapons had melted through Council shields like acid through paper. They had destroyed the finest warships 43 species could build. Now they struck the human defensive screens with the force of dying stars. Nothing happened. The human shields absorbed the impact. Every shot, every beam, every weapon the Zathik fired simply dispersed across barriers that should not exist. Not a single human ship took damage. Not one shield flickered or failed. Commander Lisa Hayes stood on the bridge of the Valiant Hope, staring at the tactical display in disbelief. "How is that possible?" she whispered. "Those weapons should have torn through their shields. Their defensive technology is beyond anything in our records," Lieutenant Greg Martin said, his fingers flying across his console as he tried to analyze what he was seeing. "The energy is not being blocked. It is being redirected, dispersed, possibly even absorbed and stored for later use. This is not just better shields. This is different science." The human fleet continued its advance, moving with the steady confidence of a force that knew it could not be stopped. Then they returned fire. The sound reached the station through the hull itself, a deep vibration that made the deck plates hum. It was the sound of weapons operating on scales the galaxy had forgotten were possible. Magnetic accelerators launched projectiles at fractions of light speed. Particle beams carved through space with surgical precision, and missiles, thousands upon thousands of missiles, each one guided by computers that could think faster than any living being. "They are using kinetic weapons," Greg said, his voice filled with confusion. "Physical projectiles, chemical explosives, mass drivers. That technology is centuries old. Why would they use outdated weapons?" Ambassador Kyle Rogers stood next to Lisa, watching the battle unfold. "Because they work," he said quietly. "Energy weapons can be absorbed, deflected, regenerated from. But physics does not care about adaptation. A piece of metal moving at 0.9 light speed will destroy whatever it hits, no matter how much that target wants to heal." The first wave of missiles struck the Zothic fleet. Nuclear warheads detonated inside bioship hulls. Antimatter charges annihilated entire vessels in bursts of pure energy. Kinetic penetrators, solid slugs of dense metal, punched through organic armor at speeds that left no time for regeneration or adaptation. 100 Zothic ships died in the first 30 seconds of battle. The swarm tried to adapt. They always adapted. That was how they had conquered 43 species. They shifted their formation, presenting hardened sections of their ships toward the human weapons. They adjusted their armor density. They changed their tactics. The humans adapted faster. Their targeting systems shifted instantly, exploiting new weaknesses before the Zothic even knew they had created them. Their missiles changed trajectories mid-flight, curving around defenses to hit vulnerable spots. Their larger guns focused fire on single targets, overwhelming regeneration with sheer volume of destruction. And then the fighters launched. They came in waves, thousands of small craft pouring from the human carriers like angry insects. But these were not insects. They moved with precision that no living pilot could match, pulling turns that would have turned any organic being into paste from the acceleration forces. "Those cannot be piloted," Lisa said, watching a fighter pull a 90-degree turn at speeds that made the sensors blur. "Nothing living could survive those forces." "They are not piloted," Greg confirmed, pulling up a close-up view. "Look, no cockpit, no life support systems. Those are drones. All of them. Thousands of unmanned fighters, each one controlled by artificial intelligence, each one coordinating with every other craft in the fleet. They fought without fear, without hesitation, without any concern for their own survival. They were weapons, pure and simple, designed to kill and nothing else." The fighters wove through the Zothic formation like knives through flesh. Their smaller weapons found the joints in organic armor, the weak points where bioships connected different sections. They sacrificed themselves without hesitation, ramming into critical systems when their weapons ran dry, creating openings for the larger human ships to exploit. "They are using their fighters as disposable ammunition," Kyle said, horrified and fascinated at the same time. "They do not care how many they lose because there is nobody inside to die." Admiral Morrison's voice came over the comm system, broadcasting to all human ships. "All vessels, weapons free. Execute protocol vengeance. No survivors, no retreat, no mercy." The human fleet split into battle groups, each one moving to surround sections of the Zothic swarm. It was not a battle anymore. It was an execution. The Zothic, who had conquered species, who had consumed worlds, who had never known defeat, were being systematically destroyed. A massive Zothic hive carrier, over 3 kilometers long, tried to regenerate damage from a missile strike. Its organic hull began to grow new tissue, sealing wounds, replacing destroyed weapons. Then a human dreadnought, A ship called the UEDF Retribution simply accelerated to ramming speed. The dreadnought hit the hive carrier like a spear through soft meat. Its reinforced prow, designed specifically for this kind of attack, cut the bioship completely in half. The Retribution emerged from the other side with minimal damage to its forward shields, already turning to engage its next target. They built a ship designed to ram enemies at faster-than-light speeds, Lisa said faintly. They built a ship whose primary weapon is running into things. They built an entire fleet of them, Greg corrected, highlighting similar vessels on the tactical display. I count at least 50 dreadnoughts with the same design, and they are all doing the same thing. High Chieftain Vorn, the Telkari warrior who had spent his entire life studying combat, stood next to Kyle with all 4 of his arms hanging limply at his sides. They are not fighting, he said softly. This is not combat. This is extermination. They are removing a pest. The battle lasted 2 hours. By the end, 3,000 Zathik vessels had been reduced to debris fields and scattered organic matter. Not a single human ship had been destroyed, though several showed damage and were already being repaired by support vessels that moved through the fleet like worker ants tending their colony. The human armada reformed around Sanctuary Station, their weapons still hot, their shields still active. They maintained combat readiness even in victory, prepared for any threat. Admiral Morrison appeared on the view screen again, his face unchanged as if the complete destruction of a Zathik fleet was nothing unusual. Council survivors, this is Admiral Morrison, he said. The immediate threat has been neutralized. We are dispatching medical vessels to assist with your wounded and supply ships to provide food, water, and materials. We will discuss long-term solutions once everyone is stable and safe. But first I need information. How many more Zathik fleets are currently operating in this galaxy? Lisa found her voice, though it took effort. Admiral, our best intelligence suggests there are dozens of additional fleets. Maybe more. They keep coming through dimensional rifts from another universe. We have not been able to seal the rifts or stop their advance. Morrison nodded slowly as if he had expected this answer. Then we have a lot of work to do. Admiral Hayes, I am sending a shuttle with my senior staff. We need to coordinate our forces and plan the next phase of operations. Morrison out. The channel closed. Lisa looked at Kyle and Kyle looked back at her. Neither of them knew what to say. Around them, the command center was silent. Every alien representative stared at the view screen where the human fleet floated in perfect formation. These were the descendants of the species the Council had exiled 200 years ago. The species they had called too dangerous, too violent, too unpredictable to be allowed to expand into the galaxy. Now those dangerous, violent, unpredictable humans were the only thing standing between the galaxy and complete destruction. What did we do? Elder Sayana whispered, her glowing skin flickering with emotion. What did we create when we abandoned them? Kyle had no answer. He had known humans before the exile. He had worked with them, laughed with them, considered many of them friends. But those humans had been part of the galactic community. They had access to Council technology, Council trade, Council knowledge. They had been connected to something larger than themselves. The humans who had just destroyed a Zathik fleet had spent 2 centuries cut off from all of that. They had been alone in the dark, with only themselves to rely on. What had that isolation done to them? What had they become? An hour later, a human shuttle docked with Sanctuary Station. Kyle and Lisa went to meet it, along with several other Council representatives. The airlock cycled and 6 humans in military uniforms stepped through. They moved with crisp efficiency, their eyes scanning the station with professional assessment. The leader, a woman in her 40s with short dark hair, stepped forward and saluted. General Claire Bennett, United Earth Defense Fleet Marine Corps, she said. I command the ground forces for the Liberation Fleet. Admiral Morrison sends his regards and his apologies for not meeting you in person, but he is coordinating fleet movements. General Bennett, Lisa said, returning the salute. Commander Lisa Hayes, thank you for... The human campaign against the Zathik began 3 days after the Battle of Sanctuary. Admiral Jake Morrison divided his forces into 20 battle groups, each one commanded by an experienced officer and supported by hundreds of ships. They deployed across the galaxy in a coordinated assault that the Zathik had never faced before. Commander Lisa Hayes found herself assigned to Battle Group 7, operating from a human carrier called the UEDF Defender. The carrier was massive, easily 3 times the size of the Valiant Hope, and it held enough fighters and support craft to supply a small fleet. Lisa's role was to act as a liaison, providing council knowledge and intelligence to help the human forces. She stood on the bridge of the Defender, watching as the battle group entered the Kilos system. Intelligence reported a Zothic fleet of approximately 800 vessels stripping the 4th planet in the system. 2 billion people had lived there. Now the sensors showed a barren world with no life signs. 800 contacts confirmed, said the tactical officer, a young human man named Peter Grant. They are in standard feeding formation around Kalos 4. They have not detected us yet. Captain Amanda Lopez, the Defender's commanding officer, studied the tactical display with calm assessment. She was in her 30s with dark hair tied back in a tight bun and eyes that missed nothing. Launch all fighters, Amanda ordered. Prepare the main guns. All escorts move to attack formation Delta 7. Captain, Lisa said carefully. 800 Zothic ships. You only have 30 capital ships in this battle group. Should we not wait for reinforcements? Amanda looked at her, and Lisa saw something in those eyes that made her understand. This was not bravery or recklessness. This was complete confidence, the certainty of someone who knew exactly how capable their forces were. Commander Hayes, Amanda said quietly. We destroyed 3,000 Zothic ships at Sanctuary with minimal damage. 800 is not a threat. It is barely a warm-up exercise. The fighters launched, pouring from the Defender's bays in perfect waves. Within 2 minutes, over 1,000 drones were in space, forming attack patterns that looked like mathematical formulas made visible. The battle group's cruisers and destroyers moved into position, their weapons already tracking targets. All ships report ready, Peter said. Begin the attack, Amanda ordered. Protocol cleansing. Leave nothing alive. The human ships opened fire. Lisa watched as missiles crossed the distance to the Zothic fleet in seconds. The bioships tried to evade, but the missiles adjusted course with impossible precision, guided by artificial intelligence that predicted every movement before it happened. Nuclear warheads detonated in carefully calculated patterns, destroying multiple targets with each blast. Antimatter charges created brief moments of annihilation, erasing Zothic vessels from existence. The Zothic returned fire, their biocannons targeting the human ships. The shots hit the shields and dispersed harmlessly. A few Zothic vessels tried to close to ramming distance, hoping to use their mass as a weapon. The human fighters intercepted them, dozens of drones swarming each bioship, tearing it apart with concentrated fire. Primary targets destroyed, Peter reported. Moving to secondary targets. Fighter losses at 4%. 4%. Lisa did the math in her head. That meant 40 fighters destroyed out of 1,000. And Amanda's expression had not changed at all, as if losing 40 drones was nothing worth noting. Continue the assault, Amanda said. Redirect fighters to the surface. Begin ground cleansing operations. Lisa looked at the tactical display. The planet is already dead, she said. There is nothing left to save. We are not saving the planet, Amanda said. We are making sure the Zothic cannot use it as a staging ground. Every bioship they have is grown from consumed organic matter. If we leave the planet intact, they will return and harvest what remains. We do not leave resources for the enemy. Human fighters descended on Kalos 4, targeting the Zothic ground forces that were still processing the dead world's biomass. Bombs fell from orbit, precise strikes that obliterated Zothic hatcheries and processing centers. Within an hour, the planet's surface was burning. The battle lasted 90 minutes. 800 Zothic vessels destroyed. Human losses, 47 fighters, 1 destroyer with moderate damage. The battle group reformed and prepared to jump to the next system. How many systems like this are there? Lisa asked quietly. In our assigned sector? 42, Amanda said. We will clear them all within 3 weeks. Then we move to the next sector. Lisa did the math. 20 battle groups, each clearing dozens of systems. The humans were not just fighting the Zothic. They were systematically erasing them from the galaxy, one system at a time. Over the next weeks, Lisa watched the human war machine operate with brutal efficiency. Every battle followed the same pattern. Jump in, analyze the enemy, destroy them completely, cleanse any remaining resources, jump out. The humans never hesitated, never showed mercy, never left anything alive. It was terrifying. It was also exactly what the galaxy needed. In the 3rd week, Battle Group 7 encountered something new. The Quorum system held a dimensional rift. one of the portals the Zathik used to enter this universe. A massive biostructure surrounded the rift, generating energy to keep it open. Zathik ships poured through in a steady stream, dozens every hour. That structure is the key, Lisa said, studying the sensor data. If we can destroy it, we can seal the rift and cut off Zathik reinforcements to this sector. Agreed, Amanda said. But we need to get close enough to target it effectively. The structure is shielded by its own energy field. We will need to break through. That will take time, Peter said. And we are detecting a large Zathik fleet forming near the rift. They are protecting it. Amanda studied the tactical display for a long moment. Contact Admiral Morrison. Request permission to use heavy ordnance. Heavy ordnance? Lisa asked. Amanda looked at her. Commander, how much do you know about human weapons development? Very little, Lisa admitted. The Council never shared information about human military capabilities even before the exile. Then you should probably strap in, Amanda said. This is going to be loud. 20 minutes later, Admiral Morrison gave his approval. A supply ship jumped into the system, carrying a single missile in a reinforced container. The missile was larger than most Council fighters, its surface covered in warning labels and safety indicators. What is that? Lisa asked, staring at the weapon. Planet cracker, Amanda said simply. Technically called a gravitational collapse warhead. It creates a localized disruption in space-time that causes matter to implode. We developed them during the Consolidation Wars, back when humanity was still unifying. They were designed to break apart asteroids and small moons for mining. We have not used one in combat in over 100 years. You are going to use a planet-destroying weapon on that structure? Lisa said, horrified. The structure is the size of a small moon, Amanda pointed out. And yes, we are. Sometimes you need the right tool for the right job. The Defender launched the missile. It accelerated toward the rift, moving faster than normal missiles. Its trajectory carefully calculated to reach the biostructure before the Zathik could intercept it. Zathik vessels moved to block it, but human fighters cleared a path, sacrificing themselves to ensure the missile reached its target. The planet cracker hit the biostructure dead center. For a moment, nothing happened. Then space itself seemed to twist, bending inward toward the point of impact. The biostructure collapsed, folding in on itself like paper being crumpled. The dimensional rift destabilized, its energy feedback destroying the remaining Zathik ships nearby. Within seconds, both the structure and the rift were gone, leaving only empty space. Rift sealed, Peter reported. All Zathik vessels in the system destroyed. Missile performed as expected. Amanda nodded as if using a weapon that could destroy planets was routine. Mark this system as cleared. Prepare for jump to the next target. Lisa sat down, her legs suddenly weak. The humans had weapons that could destroy planets. They had used one without hesitation, without debate, without any apparent concern. And they had more. How many more, she did not want to know. Captain Lopez, Lisa said quietly. What else are you not telling me about human capabilities? Amanda looked at her with an expression that might have been sympathy. Commander, you need to understand something. When the Council exiled us, they thought they were protecting the galaxy from humanity's violence. What they actually did was leave us alone with our violence, with nobody to restrain us, nobody to tell us to stop developing weapons, nobody to limit what we could create. She gestured at the tactical display, showing the cleared system. For 200 years we prepared for the worst. We built weapons that could fight any enemy, defend against any threat. We created ships that could survive any battle. We developed tactics designed to win at any cost. We became exactly what the Council feared we would become. And now? Lisa asked. Now we use all of that to save the galaxy, Amanda said. Ironic, is it not? The Council's worst fear became their only hope. By the end of the 5th week, Battle Group 7 had cleared 60 systems. Similar reports came from the other battle groups. The humans were pushing the Zathik back, system by system, world by world. For the first time since the invasion began, the universe on the other side of the rift was wrong. That was the first thing Commander Lisa Hayes noticed when the UEDF Defender emerged from the dimensional portal. The stars were wrong colors, scattered in patterns that hurt to look at. Space itself seemed to pulse with an organic rhythm, as if the universe was alive, and everywhere as far as sensors could detect. There were Zathik. I am reading contacts in the millions, said Lieutenant Peter Grant, his voice tight with strain. Ships, stations, structures. This entire region of space is filled with Zothic presence. Captain Amanda Lopez stood calmly in the center of the bridge, studying the tactical displays. Send full sensor data to the flagship. All ships maintain formation. Wait for Admiral Morrison's orders. Lisa moved to Amanda's side, staring at the displays. They had found the Zothic homeworld, or at least their primary staging area. Massive biostructures floated in space, each one the size of a planet pulsing with horrible life. Millions of ships moved between them in patterns that suggested a vast organized civilization. This was not an invasion force. This was an empire. Captain, we cannot fight this many enemies, Lisa said quietly. Even with 40,000 ships. There are too many of them. Commander, you still do not understand how humans fight, Amanda said. We do not win by having more ships. We win by being smarter, faster, and more ruthless than our enemies. Watch and learn. Admiral Morrison's voice came over the fleet-wide channel. All ships, this is Morrison. Analysis is complete. We have located 17 primary hive structures. They are the command centers for the entire Zothic operation in this region. Destroy them and the rest of the swarm will lose coordination. All battle groups, you have your targets. Execute protocol extinction. Leave nothing capable of following us back through the rift. The human fleet split apart. 40,000 ships dividing into attack formations. Each battle group headed for a different hive structure, moving with the precision of a well-oiled machine. The Zothic, sensing the intrusion, began to respond. Millions of bioships started moving toward the human fleet, a swarm so vast it blocked out stars. Contacts approaching from all vectors, Peter reported. I am reading over 2 million enemy vessels. They will reach us in 10 minutes. Launch all fighters, Amanda ordered. Activate all point defense systems. Prepare heavy missiles. We are going to punch through. The Defenders' fighter bays opened, releasing 1,000 drones. Similar launches happened across the battle group, until the space around them was filled with human fighters. They formed a defensive screen, ready to intercept the approaching swarm. The Zothic arrived like a wave of living metal, crashing into the human formation with suicidal fury. For every bioship the humans destroyed, 3 more took its place. But the humans did not panic. They fought with mechanical efficiency, their artificial intelligence coordinating every movement, every shot, every maneuver. Shields at 70%, Peter called out. Zothic are focusing fire on the larger ships. Redirect fighters to screen our flanks, Amanda said. All cruisers concentrate fire on targets designated by the tactical computer. We need to clear a path to that hive structure. Lisa watched the battle unfold with growing horror and fascination. The humans were outnumbered 100 to 1, but they fought as if the odds meant nothing. Their weapons fired without pause. Their shields absorbed impossible amounts of damage, and their tactics adapted to every new threat before the Zothic could exploit any advantage. A massive Zothic hive carrier, larger than anything Lisa had seen before, moved to intercept the battle group, its bio-cannons charged, preparing to fire weapons that could destroy capital ships with single shots. Before it could fire, 3 human dreadnoughts broke formation and accelerated directly at it. What are they doing? Lisa asked. Clearing the path, Amanda said simply. The 3 dreadnoughts hit the hive carrier simultaneously, their reinforced prows punching through organic armor like spears through flesh. The carrier exploded from the inside, its own weapons detonating in a chain reaction that destroyed hundreds of nearby Zothic ships. The dreadnoughts emerged from the other side, damaged but functional, already turning to engage new targets. That is insane, Lisa whispered. That is standard tactics, Amanda corrected. We lose 3 dreadnoughts or damage them moderately, but we eliminate a major threat and create an opening. The math is simple. The battle group pushed forward, fighting through the Zothic swarm meter by meter. Ships were damaged, fighters were destroyed, but the advance never stopped. Finally, they broke through the main defensive line and reached the hive structure. It was massive, a twisted growth of organic matter and technological systems that spanned hundreds of kilometers. Millions of Zothic bioships were being constructed inside it, growing like tumors from the structure's surface. This was how the Zothic had invaded the galaxy. They built ships faster than anyone could destroy them. Target all heavy weapons on the structure's core, Amanda ordered. Fire everything we have. The battle group's remaining ships opened fire at point-blank range. Nuclear missiles detonated across the structure's surface. Particle beams carved deep into its interior. And then the Defender fired its main gun, a weapon so powerful it required half the ship's power to operate. The beam punched through the hive structure's core, creating a wound that the biomatter could not regenerate fast enough. The structure began to collapse, its organic systems failing. Zathik ships still being grown inside it died before they could fully form. Within minutes, the entire structure was breaking apart. Target destroyed, Peter reported, detecting massive energy feedback from the structure's death. All Zathik ships in the immediate area are becoming disorganized. They are losing coordination. Across the battlefield, similar reports came in. Human battle groups were destroying hive structures one by one. Each destruction threw the local Zathik forces into chaos. The swarm that had been so coordinated and effective was falling apart. Admiral Morrison is ordering all battle groups to rendezvous at the primary rift, Amanda said, reading new orders. We are pulling back. But we have not destroyed all the hive structures, Lisa protested. There are still millions of Zathik ships functional. We destroyed enough, Amanda said. Without their command centers, the Zathik cannot organize large-scale operations. They will fight among themselves, consume each other, destroy their own infrastructure. We do not need to kill them all. We just need to break their ability to threaten the galaxy. The battle group fought its way back to the dimensional rift, leaving destruction in its wake. As they passed through the portal, Lisa looked back one last time at the Zathik universe. It was burning. Entire regions of space filled with debris and dying bioships. The humans had not conquered the Zathik homeworld. They had simply crippled it so thoroughly that it would take centuries, maybe millennia, for the Zathik to recover. The human fleet emerged back in normal space, battered but victorious. Ships limped to repair stations. Crews celebrated their survival, and Admiral Morrison ordered the rift sealed permanently, using gravitational charges to collapse the dimensional opening. With a final flash of energy, the rift closed. The Zathik were cut off from the galaxy, trapped in their own dying universe. The war was over. 3 weeks later, Ambassador Kyle Rogers stood in a conference room on Sanctuary Station. The room had been cleaned, repaired, and expanded. Outside the windows, the station was surrounded by ships, council vessels, human warships, transport craft carrying refugees back to their homes. The galaxy was beginning to heal. Around the conference table sat representatives from all 43 surviving council species, plus Admiral Morrison and General Claire Bennett representing humanity. Everyone was here to discuss one question: what happened next? The council as it existed is finished, Elder Sayana said, her luminary skin glowing softly. We can all see that now. Our government failed to protect us. Our military failed to stop the Zathik. If not for humanity, we would all be dead. The question is what we build to replace it, said High Chieftain Vorn. We need a new government, one that can protect the galaxy from future threats. We need humanity at the center of that government, said Krell, the Paxson engineer. Not as guests or junior partners, but as leaders. They have earned that right. Kyle watched Admiral Morrison's face. The human officer showed no emotion, no triumph, no satisfaction. He simply waited, listening to the aliens debate humanity's role in the galaxy's future. Finally, Morrison spoke. With respect to everyone here, humanity does not want to lead your government. We did not come here to conquer or rule. We came here to help. Then what do you want? Sayana asked. Morrison leaned forward, his hands folded on the table. We want a seat at the table. We want to be part of the galactic community as equals. We want our exile officially ended, our people welcomed back into civilized space, and we want a voice in decisions that affect the galaxy's security. That is all? Vorn asked, surprised. You saved us all. You could demand far more. We could, Morrison agreed. But that is not who we are. Humans believe in cooperation, in working together for common goals. We proved we can fight when necessary. Now we want to prove we can build when given the chance. There is one more thing, Claire Bennett added.